October 13th, 2007. Nam Talu Cave, southern Thailand. A guided cave tour entered during the rainy season, unaware that danger had already begun upstream. Nam Talu Cave was known for its beauty. Wide chambers, shallow flowing water, and smooth limestone walls made it a popular destination for tourists looking for a mild adventure. During Thailand's dry season, guided tours moved through the cave almost daily. Flash flooding was a known risk, but usually predictable. On this afternoon, 9 people entered the cave. 6 tourists from Europe, including families and teenagers, and 2 Thai guides who had led similar tours before. The weather at the cave entrance was calm. No rain had fallen locally that morning, reinforcing the belief that conditions were safe. What the group could not see was the terrain beyond the cave. Nam Talu is connected to a complex watershed system stretching into nearby mountains. Heavy rainfall earlier that day had soaked areas far upstream, feeding water into the cave's underground channels. As the group moved deeper, they followed a stream passage that gradually grew deeper. The guides noticed the water level slowly rising. This alone was not unusual, and the group continued forward. Then, without warning, a flash flood surged through the cave system. Water rushed into the narrow passages, rising rapidly and filling spaces that had been walkable minutes earlier. The force of the flood knocked people off their feet. Panic spread. One guide directed the group toward higher ground along a sloping passage. Some managed to climb out of the water. Others were caught by the current and pulled into tighter sections of the cave. Within minutes, parts of the tunnel were completely submerged, leaving no air pockets. The cave's narrow design offered no alternate routes. 8 people drowned before help could reach them. Only one person survived, a teenage girl from the United Kingdom. She had climbed onto a narrow rock ledge just above the rising water. She remained there in darkness for more than 16 hours before rescue teams reached her. The deaths shocked Thailand and drew international media attention. Among the victims was a 10-year-old boy from Germany. The tragedy was widely described as preventable. Authorities immediately closed Nam Talu Cave during the rainy season and installed warning signs at the entrance. From June to November, the cave was officially off-limits. However, enforcement relied heavily on local operators. Years later, despite the rules, tours quietly resumed during risky months. In 2024, another fatal flood occurred under similar circumstances. Nam Talu became a lasting example of how caves can turn deadly without visible warning, and how human judgment often underestimates unseen systems. February 13th, 1965. Schroeder's Pants Cave. Dolgeville, New York. 3 members of the Boston Grotto Caving Club arrived to explore Schroeder's Pants Cave, a system known for vertical shafts and flowing water. The cave had been discovered years earlier, but little was documented about its seasonal behavior. Recent temperatures had hovered around freezing, causing snowmelt and runoff. Cold water now flowed heavily through the cave, though no formal warning system existed. One caver began descending an 80-foot vertical shaft using a rope system. Midway down, he became stuck beneath a constant cascade of ice-cold water pouring through the shaft. He was unable to climb back up or be pulled free. Rescue attempts continued for nearly an hour before help was summoned from outside. A newly formed rescue team arrived, but by the time they reached him, it was clear the effort had shifted from rescue to recovery. As attempts continued, part of the shaft collapsed, sending debris downward. The cave became unstable and unsafe. Authorities sealed the entrance with explosives, leaving the caver's body inside. A memorial was placed near the site. The incident gained national attention and exposed the lack of standardized cave rescue procedures at the time. This disaster accelerated the development of formal cave rescue training in the United States. Specialized rescue teams, improved rigging standards, and cold water risk assessments became standard practice. August 27, 1952. Pierre Saint-Martin Cave, France, Spain. The Pierre Saint-Martin cave system was unlike anything explorers had ever encountered before. Discovered only a few years earlier, the cave revealed an immense vertical network of shafts and chambers descending far deeper than anyone thought possible. By the early 1950s, it had become the deepest known cave in the world, plunging more than 1,200 feet underground. In the summer of 1952, an international expedition was organized to explore it. Around 30 people were involved in the mission, including cavers, engineers, surface crew, and support teams. About a dozen explorers descended into the cave itself, while others remained above ground to manage equipment, communication, and hauling systems. One of the key members was Marcel Lubens, an experienced engineer and caver. He served as the expedition's second-in-command and was responsible for technical systems, including the hauling equipment used to raise and lower people through the vertical shafts. On August 27th, Marcel Lubens was being hauled upward through one of the cave's deepest vertical shafts. He was secured in a harness and lifted by a steel cable connected to a winch operated from above. The system had already been used multiple times during the expedition. Partway through the ascent, the unthinkable happened. The cable suddenly snapped. Lubens fell more than 40 meters into the darkness below, landing on a rocky ledge deep within the cave system. Amazingly, he survived the fall. But the impact left him with severe internal injuries, broken bones, and unconsciousness. He was now trapped over 1,200 feet underground, in a location that required hours of climbing just to reach. The accident triggered one of the most extraordinary rescue efforts ever attempted underground. Doctors, medics, and additional cavers were sent down into the cave, carrying medical supplies through narrow shafts and vertical drops. In near total darkness, they treated Lubens where he lay, administering pain relief and stabilizing him as best they could. For more than 36 hours, the team worked tirelessly to free him, but the cave fought back. Loose rock began to fall from the shaft walls. Passages were too narrow to safely move a stretcher. Every attempt to lift Lubens risked another collapse or further injury. Despite constant care and repeated rescue attempts, Marcel Lubens died deep underground, never reaching the surface. His body could not be recovered safely. In the years that followed, deep cave expeditions were fundamentally rethought. Equipment standards were tightened. Redundant cables and hauling systems became mandatory. Medical preparedness underground became a priority rather than an afterthought.